Today's lesson is zero and negative exponents. Our objectives are to simplify expressions with zero and negative exponents, to evaluate exponential expressions. Some key concepts you need to know about zero exponents. A zero as an exponent. For every non-zero number, a, so it could be any number, it could be 10,450. It will always equal a. So an exponent, when it has a zero, will equal 1. So if I had 3 to 4 to the 0 power, it would equal 1. If you had 5,284 to the 0 power, it's still going to equal 1. Now, if you have a negative exponent, for every non-zero number, a, remember this is any number that's not a zero, and an integer, t, so it could be a negative or a positive. If it's a negative exponent, it will switch into a fraction. So if I made this a fraction, a to the negative t power over 1, what we would do is switch it. It would go down to the bottom of the fraction, and what's left up on top will become the number on top. Now, say if it was a to 1 over a to the negative t, it's on the bottom, so we would switch it to the top, and it would be a to the t power over 1. And that's how they would do it. We'll work on those concepts in a second. So, what I'm going to do is teach you a way of boxing. I'm going to make it into a fraction at first. So I'm going to make it over 1 because that's a fraction. And then I'm going to box the number that has the negative exponent. Well, 4 has a negative exponent. So I'm going to box it up. Now, since negative 4 to the negative 3 is on top of the fraction, I'm going to bring it to the bottom. So I'm going to have 4 cubed. Now, notice it becomes a positive exponent. Now, we can never have negative exponents. So we're going to make them positives. And then we say to ourselves, what do I have left on top? Well, in a way, you have nothing, so it's going to be a 1. Not a 0, a 1. And then you have to do 4 cubed. Here's 1 over, and you do 4 times 4, which is 16, times 4, which is 64. So your answer is 1 over 64. I'm going to just make that a normal 1. There you go. Now, you box this part up, put it over 1. Then you would say, what's 7 to the 0 power? Remember, any number that has a power of 0 equals 1. So it would be 1 over 1, which equals 1. Now, look at C. What does that negative go to? Negative exponent go to? It only goes to the 3. So I'm going to box up just 3 negative squared. And again, it's on top of the fraction, so I need to bring it to the bottom. So what do I have left on top? I have this negative, so it will be negative 1. And then it would be 3 squared now on the bottom. And then you find out what 3 squared is, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. There's your answer. Here's your answer for that one. D. I'm going to make it a fraction. This time, the negative inside the parentheses. So I'm going to box the whole thing up again. And it's on top, so I'm going to bring it to the bottom. So what's left on top? Nothing, so it's a 1. And then you do negative 5 to the first power. And negative 5 to the first power is just negative 5. So you go 1 and negative 1. So it's negative 1/5. All right, this time we added variables to it. Now, and there's more than one, so we have to look at what needs to be boxed. So first I'm going to make it a fraction, put it over 1. Now I have to figure out what is going to stay, needs to be boxed up. And the negative 3 only goes to the x, only to the x. So we're going to bring down that one. So what's left over on top is the 4 and the y. They did not get brought down. It's just the x cubed. And 1 times x cubed is x cubed. And there's your answer. B. Which one has the negative exponent? M does. So we box it, put it over 1. And m to the 5th is going to be brought down because it's a negative. So what's left over on top? 11. And 1 times m to the 5th is m to the 5th. Okay, we're going to again make it a fraction. Box what has the negative exponent? S to the negative 2 has the negative exponent. So I'm going to bring that down. So what's left on top? 7 and t squared. They're not boxed. And s squared times 1 is x squared. All right. D. It's already in fraction form. Now we look which one number has the negative exponent, and that would be the bottom one this time. And if it's the bottom one, if it's on the bottom, when we had it on the top, we brought it down. So the idea is the same idea is you if it's on the bottom, you bring it to the top. So 1 times w to the 4th would be w to the 4th. And what's left on the bottom? A 1. So you could just say w to the 4th. E. It's already in variable form, in fraction form. And you find the numbers that have the negative exponents. That would be the top. So we need to bring it to the bottom. Okay. When you have two sets of variables, I would like you to put it in alphabetical order. So n is before v, so it would be n cubed. V to the 4th. I do not change the v to the 4th. It's still at the bottom. I didn't switch it. I didn't bring it up. It's still down there. Since there's nothing left on top, it must be a 1. And that's how you would do example 2. Let's look at example 3. All right. I am going to, at first, not put evaluate. I am not going to put these numbers in yet. I'm going to put the fractions where they need to go. So, I'm going to make it a fraction and put the variables where they need to go. So I'm going to box up n to the negative 3. Into the negative 3, since it's a negative, I'm going to bring to the bottom. So it's w to the 0 power and n cubed now. It's n cubed. So now I'm going to plug it in because they're both positive numbers now. So I can put 5 to the 0 power, and notice I'm putting the negative 2 in parentheses to cubed power. Okay, 5 to the 0 power. Again, when you have a 0 power, you're going to, the answer is always going to be 1. And then for negative 2 cubed would be negative 8. And there's your answer. I'd like you to try B by yourself. Please put me on pause and do the work and then check and see if you did it correctly. All right. B, it should be negative 1 over negative 50. C, why don't you try by yourself now? It should be 1 over 16. And if you're not understanding how you got those numbers, please come see me in class tomorrow and say, how did you get those? But please try it yourself beforehand. I'm going to look at your notes to see that you did it if you ask me those questions. All right, I would like you to try D by yourself next. All right, your answer for D would be 25 over negative 2 or negative 14 1/2. All right, so now we're going to go to example 4. They can't kind of give you a formula for this. You might need to use the same formula for your homework. So let's see what it says. A biologist, Eden, is studying green peach aphids. That is a type of insect. In the lab, the population doubles every week, so it doubles twice every week. The expression 1,000 times 2 to the s power models an initial population of 1,000 insects after s weeks of growth. So, it says we're going to have two answers here. Evaluate the expression for s equals 0. So, they want to know how many animals you have that first week that you have received the aphids. So, you would do 1,000 times 2 to the 0 power. That's the initial week that you have. And I don't have to bring anything down to the bottom, so you're just going to leave it like that. So you're going to do 2 to the 0 power equals 1. So it's 1,000 times 1, which equals 1,000. So the first week that we're looking at this moment in time means it's at 1,000. Okay, so evaluate the expression for s equal negative 3. That means 3 weeks ago, how many aphids were there? How many aphids were there? 0 means this week. Negative 3 means 3 weeks ago. So you would do 1,000 times s to the negative 3. Notice it's a negative, so I need to make it a fraction. So I make it over 1. And then I box it up and I bring it down. Oh, sorry, not s, sorry, 2. 2 to the negative 3 power. Come on. Box it down. I need to bring it to the bottom. So it's going to be 1,000 over 2 cubed. And 2 cubed would be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So 1,000 divided by 8. And then you do the problem. 1,000 divided by 8. So there were 125 aphids. I don't know how to spell aphids. A-P-H-I-D-S. 3 weeks ago. If it was 3 weeks in the future, it would be just s would equal 3. If it was 2 weeks in the future, it would be 2. And if it's next week, it would be 1 as your s. All right. Goodbye.